Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second part of tonight's event. My name's Casey Coates, and I work in the Student Recruitment Division here at UAW, and I'll be your host for this evening. In this session, we'll provide an insight into postgraduate courses within the Faculty of Science, Medicine and Health. We're very excited to have you here to answer any questions you may have about commencing study with us in 2022. Before I introduce our panel that are with me this evening, I just wanted to run through a few housekeeping items. So please note that this session is being recorded and you'll be sent an email to refer back to over the coming days. You'll also notice that your microphone and video have been turned off. However, you can use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to ask our panel any questions that you may have. The webinar will run for approximately 1 hour and will include a formal presentation from faculty staff, followed by general information on travelling to Australia in 2022. Following the presentation, our panel tonight will answer questions sent in via our live Q&A. We'll also have a team behind the scenes typing responses to any of your questions. Please also note that some of the information presented today might not be relevant if you're already living in Australia. So I'd like to begin by introducing our panellists here with me this evening from our Faculty of Science, Medicine and Health. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Senior Professor Eileen McLaughlin, Executive Dean, Associate Professor Sybil Schwab, our Associate Dean International, Ravi Daga, Senior Manager, International Partnerships and Engagement, Alex Morcom, our Future Student Advisor, and Lucy Alexander, our Faculty Engagement Coordinator. Welcome everyone and thanks for being here tonight. To begin this evening, I'd like to hand over to our faculty staff to go through information specific to the Faculty of Science, Medicine and Health. Over to you, Eileen.
Thank you. So I'm the Executive Dean of the faculty and I look after 4 separate schools. The School of Chemistry and Molecular Biosciences, which has a fabulous reputation leading in all sorts of biomedical sciences, in particular through our extensive investment in high value infrastructure, including cryo-EM. We also have an excellent School of Earth, Atmospheric and Life Sciences. So if you're really interested in understanding the ecology and the environment within Australia, then it's one of our leading areas and we do global work, including in Antarctica. In our School of Medicine, we actually offer a whole series of programs in allied health. So people who want to work looking after patients, including in our School of Medicine. And additionally, we have a very extensive School of Nursing, of which we have a large number of internationally recognised degrees. Thank you.
Okay, so what do we offer within our schools? There's a whole variety of postgraduate degrees, and just as a start, if the degrees you're seeing here are not the degrees that you have an offer for or you're interested in, then you may be in the wrong webinar. So we offer a postgraduate degree in medicine. That's our Doctor of Medicine. We have a whole number of degrees related in health as well as in nursing. Some of these are accredited. We do also offer more basic degrees in basic sciences like chemistry, environmental and biological sciences, but also a degree which is related to sciences and businesses, which helps you in terms of your career later on as well, when you want to go more into the administrative side of the sciences. Thanks. So handing over to Ravi now.
Thanks, Sybil. In terms of a very crucial decision that you would like to make, is why should you study with us in the Faculty of Science, Medicine and Health? And here are some of the points to help you make that decision relatively easily. First and foremost is accreditation. Many of our health programs are accredited by the relevant professional bodies. For example, our Master of Nutrition and Dietetics, our Master of Clinical Exercise Physiology, our Doctor of Medicine, they are all accredited by the respective accreditation bodies in Australia. Therefore, your degrees are not only recognized here in Australia, but also internationally and globally as well. The next point is about clinical placements. we take our graduate employability very seriously, and therefore, wherever possible, our programs incorporate clinical placements as a part of the degree itself. And if your program that you are enrolled or you are interested in has a clinical placement component in it, then those clinical placements are guaranteed to you. You don't have to find them. We find those placements for you. In terms of the next item, which is practical courses, this point is more relevant to our sciences degrees. In sciences, in most of our science programs, the time spent in both the laboratories as well as in the coastal freshwater bushland and geologically diverse environment helps you get a very good understanding of the theoretical aspects that you study in the lecture room, and take that theory aspect and combine that with the practical environment. And as you would have seen in the videos prior to coming to this faculty specific seminar, Wollongong enjoys a very diverse environment in terms of coastline, in terms of an escarpment and bushland, etc. The next point is learn from the best. Most of our teaching staff, our lecturers, our professors, etc., they all have an active research profile, which means that whatever they teach you comes from their active research in their respective disciplines, as well as many of our health professionals are professional practicing dietitians. Some of them may be practicing nurses, doctors, exercise physiologists, etc. The idea here is for us to be able to deliver content that is derived from research, as well as what is happening in the real world out there, so that when you do graduate from your course and get in the workforce, nothing comes to you as a surprise. The next point we would like to talk about is learn on the real things. Now, I'm very pleased to say that University of Wollongong has one of the best anatomy labs in the whole state of New South Wales, and I might not be wrong when I say in all of Australia. We offer real life experiences on human cadavers. Additionally, our clinical learning laboratories in nursing and medicine have the technology to give you the closest experience to seeing and treating real patients. Because at the end of the day, if you intend to become a health professional, you should be trained in seeing real patients and understanding the human body as it stands. The next point is focus on research, which I've already touched in one of the earlier points above. Focus on research has been the fundamental of what we teach and how we teach it. We want our students to have the opportunity to participate in real research work, real research projects, and make a contribution, a significant contribution in that to health and medical programs, etc. We have research laboratories where, depending on your interest, you may be able to participate in real research projects. You may be able to undertake further studies in a doctoral program, in a master's program by research, etc., and contribute in real research, in solving real world issues through your research programs. Industry collaboration is again very important. We have had a very strong research reputation in collaboration with industry and partnerships with major health providers such as WorkCover, Health New South Wales, etc. That could help you understand the industry developments that are happening in that particular discipline or area of study that you are interested to study in. And the last part is contribute to science knowledge. As I said earlier, again, I just want to re-emphasize, you will have opportunity to make significant contribution through further studies, either by doing a master's degree by research, or by doing a doctoral program, which can help you make new discoveries, help advance society, and or protect our natural world. So these are some of the aspects as to why, if you haven't still decided to come and study with us, I hope these points can help you convince yourself to accept your offer as soon as possible. Thanks, Casey.
Okay, so our achievements across the whole of the spectrum of universities, we are in the top 1% of universities in the world. We're number one in New South Wales for nursing and in the top 20 in the country. We're also in the top 150 for earth and marine sciences, as well as being in the top 200 for physical sciences. We're also ranked in the top 100 in the world in nursing, and we're also in the top 20 because we're a university that's less than 50 years old. We're in the top 20 in the world as a young university. That means that we're very agile, and we've got established a superb international reputation for our research and for our teaching. Next slide, please. So student support services that we actually have include lots of advisors who are available throughout the academic year and who are available to speak to either face-to-face or via webinars or video conferencing. We play a lot of attention on having a really good campus environment, and so our well-being is extremely high, with many clubs and societies that you can actually join. A lot of these clubs and societies are also linked to professional organizations and scientific societies, and this gives you the opportunity to interact not only with students in Wollongong, but students nationally and internationally. We are very, very important to us that we actually have a good pathway to employment, and so we regularly run career services that you can actually interact with and look throughout your actual academic year in order to get internship for access to other employers. And we particularly look after our international students by having student mentors.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Eileen, Sibel and Ravi, for those insights into the Faculty of Science, Medicine and Health. So that's the part of our faculty presentation. So for the second part of this presentation, I'm going to provide some current information on travelling to Australia to study in 2022 and what UAW study and the student experience will look like next year. So the next few slides will cover information such as steps you can take to prepare to travel and new requirements for entering Australia, including COVID-19 vaccinations, UAW's plans to return to on-campus teaching next year, and options for students who are unable to arrive in time for commencement. We'll provide a brief overview of the steps of how to enrol at UAW and what to expect from orientation. And finally, some information about UAW's accommodation. After this part of the presentation, we'll open it up to a live Q&A where our panel will ask any of your questions. But feel free as we go, if you have a question, to pop it in the Q&A, and our staff behind the scenes will answer them, and we can leave them till the end to answer live if needed. So just an important note to make before we commence is that much of the information presented today is based on current, as of today, advice from the Australian federal and state government. In particular, information regarding travelling to Australia and vaccination requirements is all subject to the Australian government policy and is subject to change. We therefore suggest obtaining regular and up-to-date information from reliable resources, including the Study New South Wales website. Additional reliable links will be supplied throughout this presentation. So travelling to Australia. The Australian government has recently announced that fully vaccinated international students and other eligible visa holders will be able to enter Australia without a travel exemption from the 15th of December. Now, this is a slightly revised date. Previously, it was the 1st of December, which has been pushed back while Australia examines the impacts of the new Omicron COVID-19 variant. This date still allows plenty of time for you to plan for your travel to Australia and arrive in time for commencement of your course in 2022. Now, until the 15th of December, you will need a travel exemption to arrive in Australia. So this is a bit of a more detailed and involved process and requires an application by the Australian Department of Home Affairs. The recent pilot program, which you may be aware of, is currently utilising travel exemptions to help current international students return to Australia. So in terms of preparing to come to Australia, for students who are offshore and seeking to travel to Australia to commence their studies in Session 1, 2022, below is some information essential to make those steps to enter the country without an exemption after the 15th of December. So first, you must secure and accept an offer to study at UOW in 2022. Now, for most on this webinar, you would have probably already taken this step. However, you will still need to clear any conditions on your offer, accept your offer, including payment of your tuition fee, to receive a confirmation of enrolment. And up until the 31st of December, you can secure your COE with a fixed deposit amount of 5,000 Australian dollars and pay the remainder of the deposit, your first session tuition fees, before the census date for your starting session. We'll talk more about accepting your offer and enrolment steps a little bit later on. The next step, with your deposit paid and your COE secured, you'll be able to apply for a student visa and take out an overseas student health cover policy. We strongly recommend that you apply for and secure your visa as soon as possible. With the Australian border opening to travellers from December, we anticipate that visa processing times may be impacted. To avoid any delay to your arrival in Australia and course commencement, the sooner you can secure your visa, the better. We recommend seeking advice on obtaining a visa from your agent if you're using one, or visiting the Australian Department of Home Affairs website. We'll share some links in the coming slides for you to access. And finally, the last step, entering Australia from the 15th of December, will also require you to be fully vaccinated. So in the next 2 slides, we're going to talk about what vaccines are accepted and how you can prove your vaccination status. So entering Australia without a travel exemption will require you to be fully vaccinated with an Australian Therapeutic Goods Administrative approved vaccine. Being fully vaccinated means that you must receive a full course, in most cases two shots, of one of the following vaccines that are listed on your screen now. The Australian Therapeutic Goods Administration is always reviewing this list of approved vaccines, so we do suggest that you check it regularly, and we have provided the link there on the screen if you need to access that to have a look at further information. So in terms of proof of COVID vaccinations, you'll also need to provide this, and you would have received, you'll need to provide proof that you've received your full vaccine, as mentioned from the previous slide. So any of those vaccinations you'll be able to have, and you'll be needing to prove that to enter into Australia. So this process will differ slightly depending if you've been vaccinated in or outside of Australia. For most on this webinar, we are going to assume that you have been vaccinated outside of Australia though. So therefore, to prove that you're fully vaccinated, you'll need to possess a vaccination certificate that meets all the requirements of the Australian Passport Office. Details of these requirements are currently on your screen, and you'll also be able to access this information by visiting the link that's currently on the slide as well. So when it comes time to travel to Australia, the Department of Home Affairs has put together some useful step-by-step guides and checklists to help you prepare to travel to Australia and understand what to expect. Currently, this involves steps regarding pre-departure, like checking the latest advice around travel exemptions and restrictions, as well as obtaining your proof of vaccination that we've just covered. Now, 2 things to draw your attention to on this slide are that at present, you will need to complete an Australian travel declaration and return a negative COVID test before you depart. Both of these things, along with your proof of vaccination and typical things like a visa, passport, and plane ticket, will also need to be presented at the airport in order for you to board your flight to Australia. And finally, when you arrive, you will need to undertake a COVID-19 test and be subject to a period of self-isolation in your designated accommodation or place of residence. This period is currently 72 hours for people arriving from overseas. This is subject to change, and we strongly encourage you to visit the website on the screen before looking at any travel to Australia and before you travel. Now, I just mentioned a fair few links through that presentation, so I'm just linking them on this this screen now for you to access. But a reminder that this presentation is recorded and this will be sent to you over the following days if you need to access anything later. So starting at UOW in 2022, now we're going to look briefly at what it's going to be like and the next steps for course and subject enrolment. So after 2 years of disrupted study for many UOW students, we are currently planning to bring the majority of classes, tutorials and some lectures back face-to-face on-campus teaching. COVID-19 has shaped the way we deliver much of our teaching and learning, and students commencing with us next year can expect a unique blend of on-campus and online learning. If you are able to join us in Australia next year, most of our classes will be face-to-face and on campus. Larger lectures of 100+ people are currently planned to be offered online, and this is to ensure safe physical distancing. Where we cannot safely provide an on-campus class, an online option will be provided where possible. So we acknowledge that some students may not be able to join us in time for 2022 course commencement due to COVID-19 impacts to travel, borders, and public health orders. So while we encourage all offshore students to take steps to travel to Australia for session 1 next year, UOW will continue to provide online study options where possible to ensure a majority of students can keep their study plans on track. If you find yourself in a position where travelling to Australia is not possible, UOW will work with you to identify appropriate subjects for your course and enrol you in an online instance until you're able to join us in Australia. If you are unable to offer you the appropriate online subjects, if we aren't able to, you may be able to defer your offer. Having already delivered 2 years of online learning, we have many support mechanisms and initiatives in place to make you feel connected to UOW and your peers, including mentoring, coaching programs, and access to UOW's library suite of learning resources. UOW released a 2022 timetable mid-December, which will detail which subjects are offered online. And further communication will be sent to all COE and offer holders on release with advice on how to nominate online options for study if needed. So from December, when international students are able to return in greater numbers, we are really looking forward to seeing a vibrant campus atmosphere. UOW is known for a safe and respectful campus environment where students from around the world can learn, live, and enjoy a well-rounded student experience that extends well beyond the classroom. In line with many classes being offered on campus in 2022, there will be complimentary campus services and amenities to enrich your student experience. At our Wollongong campus, we have many cafes, restaurants, the uni bar, one of the most popular, where students like to go, as well as other things such as gym facilities. Our campus really is a city in itself. There are also clubs and societies and opportunities to volunteer and socialise. To help you find employment while you study, we also have what's known as UOW's Career Central, which provides specialised services to help you position yourself for employment to find work in Australia. They can also help you with career and planning graduate opportunities. So a little bit about Wollongong. With some of the highest vaccination rates in the world, especially New South Wales, as well as our campuses and classes resuming next year, when you join us here in Wollongong, there's really a lot to look forward to. So I myself am born and raised in Wollongong, and there is really so much to do in the city. The average daily temperature sits at around about 27 degrees, which makes it very convenient that we live so close to so many beautiful beaches up and down the coastline. There are also so many other activities to engage in on weekends or on your days off, such as bushwalks. And we're also very close to Sydney. So iconic landmarks such as Sydney Opera House, the Sydney Harbour Bridge are very close in proximity, which makes it a great destination to attend on weekends if you want to get away. So to help you settle into life here at UOW, we are planning for a complete orientation. And for all students, new and current, we will be hosting what is known as Campus Fest. So this is a celebration for all our return to campus in 2022 and the return of more international students to Australia. Your orientation is an essential part to starting at UOW. At your orientation, you receive important information about starting your course and discover everything on offer as a UOW student. In autumn 2022 intake, orientation will form part of Campus Fest, and Campus Fest will include all your essential orientation sessions, along with an exciting lineup of free live music acts, entertainment, festivals, clubs, and events to celebrate the new academic year in style. And if you're studying online, we'll make sure you receive a complete orientation experience still and have all the information you need to start your life as a UIW student. So now I just wanted to touch on UIW student accommodation. So in preparing for your studies at UIW, we recommend reviewing our range of student accommodation options in Wollongong. There are locations on campus or close to the beach and Wollongong City, plus a range of options from individual rooms to family apartments. UIW student accommodation is a safe and affordable option. Please note, places for 2022 are filling up fast at some residences, so we do suggest submitting an application for accommodation as soon as you can. You can also refer to the webpage on your screen for options, prices, and application links as well. Now, the last thing I wanted to quickly run you through on was in regards to the enrolment steps to accept and enroll into your course at UIW. So if you're ready to take the next step and join us next year, first, as mentioned up front, step one would be to, in the UIW enrolment process, is actually accepting your offer. So this is done by completing the acceptance agreement, which is attached to your UIW letter of offer, and returning it along with your fees payable, your tuition deposit. You may also have conditions detailed on your offer letter. So things like providing proof of English language proficiencies. So just check those and clear those before you proceed. Once you've accepted your offer, you will receive what's known as a confirmation of enrolment from UIW. And with the COE, you'll be able to apply for a student visa to travel to Australia. Again, we encourage you to obtain your COE and visa as soon as possible to avoid delays to your commencement. So step two, all COE holders for next session will be asked to complete the online enrolment registration form. So this form replaces traditional on-campus enrolment and allows you to enroll online, irrespective of whether you plan to come to Australia or if you're studying offshore. You'll receive an invitation to complete this form via email after you obtain a COE. Existing COE holders will receive a link to the form very soon. Now, to complete the enrolment registration form, you will need a copy of your confirmation of enrolment, your offer of admission, Australia visa grant notification if available, and your UIW student number. And once this is completed, we will email you with instructions on how to complete the enrolment process. So the final steps for enrolment is to enroll in your course and then the individual subjects within your course. So UIW will provide details on how to do this after you've completed your enrolment registration form and when course enrolment opens, which will be mid-December. And depending on your personal situation and ability to travel to Australia, this is when you'll be able to identify whether your subjects are offered online. Now, the last thing I wanted to touch on were some important dates for next year. So autumn session commences, so session one, autumn 2022. So orientation will run between the 22nd and 24th of February. Classes will commence for autumn session on the 28th of February. The last day to enrol is the 11th of March. However, we do recommend to enrol as soon as possible to get you all organised for the session ahead. And census date, which is your last day to pay your fees, but also the last day to withdraw if needed without financial penalty, is the 31st of March. And you can access these important dates at that link if needed to. Now, just before we open it up to the Q&A, I just wanted to relist all the links and resources that we have talked about in our session today. But just a reminder, as mentioned before, it is recorded, so we will send you this at a later date and you can refer to anything if needed. But I've spoken for a very long time, so I might open it up to the floor if we have any particular questions come in. So if you've got any questions coming in following that information, please feel free to pop it in the Q&A chat and we'll open it up to the panel for answers. Okay, so Alex, I might have one for you actually. It's in regards to a HDR scholarship. And this student is advising they have applied for a HDR scholarship. When should I expect a decision?
Yes, that's a really good question. And it's actually an answer that I know. I found out just yesterday, the answer to that question. So I was advised by the Graduate Research School that the HDR scholarship outcomes are in the process of being sent out. and they are expecting all outcomes to be issued by the 21st of December, they've said. So if you haven't heard by that date, we'd recommend you get in contact with future students, and we'll be able to assist you and chase that up for you.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Alex.
That's all right.
Okay, not many questions coming in at the moment, but we had a few from our other one we ran the other night. So Alex, whilst I've got you, there was a question in regards to accommodation applications. Is there a specific date where students need to have these in by, or are they offered on a rolling kind of basis?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. With the accommodation applications, they are typically assessed sort of on a rolling basis. So it's a little bit hard to give a definite date on when you'll receive an outcome regarding your accommodation. And the reason for that is that the accommodation team are always trying to satisfy everyone and trying to give you the highest possible accommodation preference that you've put down. So we ask you to remain patient, but also make sure you have a few different preferences, so that just in case we can't give you your top preference, we'll be able to issue an offer for one of the residences.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alex. And I just saw we had a question actually come through about that. So I hope that's answered your question, but feel free to keep them coming in if we've got any. One of the other questions we had the other night, I believe, was in regards to visa processing time. So I do want to mention that obviously the earlier you can apply for your visa, the better. But Ravi, can you correct me if I'm wrong? Is the usual application processing time for visas around about 29 to 30 days? Is that correct?
Yes, under normal circumstances it is. But given that a lot of students would have been sitting on their offers in line for a decision or an announcement in terms of border opening, we expect that there would be a flurry of visa applications getting to visa processing centers across the globe. And so the visa processing, there may be some delays in visa processing. So under normal circumstances, yes, it takes about 29 to 35 days. But now in some cases, it could go even up to 45 to 50 days. So the only recommendation we could give is apply for your visa as soon as possible.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Ravi. Okay, next question we've had come in is, do we need to submit our USI before course commencement? Can I throw that to anyone in the panel to answer? What
does USI stand for?
I can take that one. It is a unique student identifier. It's a number required by the government. Now, as far as my understanding goes, you are not required to provide that at the time of enrollment if you don't have one, but you will need to acquire one. And I'm just going to try and find the date. What I might do is, once I find the date, I will post it in the chat. But if you don't have one at the time of enrollment, that is okay. You'll be able to proceed and finish your enrollment without one.
Perfect, thank you. We've had another question come through about visas. So what would I do if my visa gets delayed? Can I throw that to you, Alex, or Ravi? Have you had that in the past, Ravi?
It depends on what course you are enrolled in. We would ideally want our students to be here for the orientation week because it helps them settle nicely, get a good understanding of all the facilities and services that the university has to offer before the studies commence from week 1. However, if your visa is delayed, we strongly recommend that you get in touch with future students who can then get in touch with the faculty staff, relevant faculty staff, to make sure that you are not in any way, shape, or form disadvantaged by arriving late on campus. That is the last thing we would want you to have or go through.
That's great, Ravi. And while I've got you, there's another question actually similar to that. It's in regards to coming to Australia. How much time before course commencement do students have to get to Australia?
It depends on when you get your visa. As soon as you get your visa, you can come to Australia. That's not a problem. It's generally, there is no time limit stipulated in your visa that this is the time you cannot come to Australia before. You can come to Australia as soon as you have your visa. Sorry.
Great. And is there a specific deadline for students to accept their offer? I've just had a student write in the Q&A here about finding or getting their official transcripts to clear a condition on their offer. Is there a certain deadline that they have to accept their offer by?
There is no deadline, depending on what course. Again, for some courses, yes, because they are, if you're talking about a program like Doctor of Medicine or Master of Nutrition and Dietetics, these programs have got limited places in them because they have clinical placements. And so therefore, it is very crucial that the students who have an offer should accept it as soon as possible. But for other programs, they can accept it as as soon as they can. However, the concern is before they can clear the condition, they will not be able to get the confirmation of enrollment certificate, which is a document that they need to apply for their visa. So that's that issue about the more delay there is in clearing your condition, the late you'll get your visa, and the later you get your COE, the later you apply for your visa. So that's that situation there.
Great, thanks, Ravi. And I'm not too sure if we'll be able to answer this one, probably best for the government, but I just wanted to throw it out there in case Ravi or Alex, you've had any prospective students ask this before. In regards to partner visas, so a student's written in about that it being really important to certify that they'll have their partner coming with them before accepting the offer. How do they facilitate a partner visa?
I don't know the answer to this, but I think they should talk to a university's authorized representative in the country that they are in. And they should be able to find the list of our authorized agents on our website, or they can contact future students, because different countries have got different requirements to bring in their partners, and therefore we would not have that information handy.
Great, thanks, Ravi. We don't have any questions coming in at the moment. We've just had one more come through. So is the Master of Medicinal Chemistry accredited with an Australian body, like you've mentioned with some other programs? So Eileen, I might throw that one to you if possible.
So the Masters of Medicinal Chemistry is recognised by the Royal Australian Chemical Institute, RACI or RACI, as it's sometimes known, as a qualification that we actually accredit. However, it's not a necessary qualification to actually practice as a chemist or as a medicinal chemist.
Great, thanks, Eileen. And whilst I've got you there, I'm just thinking, as we don't have some questions coming in just for the time being, can we talk a little bit about career outcomes from students who successfully complete Master of Conservation Biology or Earth and Environmental Sciences?
Okay, so that's a particularly popular area for employment within Australia, but it's also worldwide. An area for which there is a big demand. Within Australia, it's often partly the qualification to enter into a career in environmental health, and virtually every government organisation, councils and Environmental Protection Agency require people who have those kinds of qualifications in order to undertake surveys of the environment and obviously to protect people from any dangerous chemicals or pollutants that are actually available in the environment. So it's very wide ranging. At the moment, there's over 1,000 jobs.
Great, thanks, Eileen. We just had a question come in. It's in regards to the Master of Public Health, which actually sits in a different faculty. So I can see Anthony behind the scenes is typing an answer to you. So he'll get that answer sorted for you. We don't have any questions coming in the meantime, but whilst we wait, Ravi, are you able to touch on employment following the Master of Nursing International and what students would use that for following completion of it?
Yes, sure. So Master of Nursing International has been a very popular program for us particularly from our international students. Majority of the students use that qualification to get a very sound understanding of the Australian nursing context, and use the technical skills that they would have learned in their undergraduate Bachelor of Nursing degree in their respective home countries, and marry concepts together to get a job in areas like nursing homes, in aged care centers, and many students I know. I know a few success stories where they have been able to use the Master of Nursing International qualification, combine it with their undergraduate degree in their home country, and have both the qualifications together as a combination, get a registration as a nurse in Australia and practice, and therefore then practice as a registered nurse in Australia. But that is something that is done on a case-by-case basis. I must emphasize that our Master of Nursing International is not accredited by Australian Nursing and Midwifery Accreditation Council. Therefore, students have to do that on their own. And as I said, it has happened in the past. There have been many success stories where international students with an undergraduate degree in nursing in their home country and have successfully completed Master of Nursing International have gone on to become registered nurses in Australia.
That's great. Thanks so much for that, Ravi. So we don't have any further questions coming through. So I'm hoping that's a great sign and we've answered all of your questions. So I might look to wrap it up soon. I just wanted to throw back to the panel to say if you had any final closing comments or anything that you wanted to say before I wrap up this evening.
I was going to invite Sybil, who's our AD International, to actually say a few words about her area of expertise, which is data science.
That would be great.
Yes. Thanks, Eileen. I was just thinking, what should I say? I'm a geneticist by training in that sense, and genetics these days is definitely big data. And I'm teaching within our master degrees in the first year around the biotechnology, medicinal chemistry, but also the earth and environmental sciences. And I'm kind of driven by my enthusiasm for what I'm doing in terms of my research. So there is definitely quite some exciting stories coming out. And you may have noted also that the data science is something that is really, I would say, a piece for the future. It is becoming more and more relevant in lots of areas, and I think we definitely do offer there also research projects which in these areas, and I would look forward to see some of you students, which I can't see, but I would like to definitely see you on our campus and study with us.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Just to wrap up there, I might get Alex behind the scenes to pop in our future students' details. So if you've got any questions following our webinar this evening, please feel free to give us a call or send us an email. We're happy to help with anything that you may need in terms of coming to study with us in 2022. But as reminded, it is being recorded, so we will send you this recording over the next few days if you wanted to refer back to any information. But I just want to say a big thank you to our panel here with us tonight, and a big warm welcome to all of our students looking to study with us in 2022. We're so excited to have you back on campus and to see you in this vibrant campus next year. So thank you all, have a good evening, and we'll see you on campus next year. Thanks so much.
Thank you.